droppers, and welcome back to the channel. It's tutorial day. We're going to be talking about getting started with fluid art. Now, if you're like me and you saw somebody doing this, you said to yourself, that can't be that hard. And then maybe you went out and you bought a whole bunch of stuff and you found out it is that hard. It is. There's a lot to learn. So I'm going to just start at the beginning. Kind of if you want to start fluid art, maybe you've already started. Here are my suggestions. First of all, you're going to want something to paint on, and tiles are what a lot of people start on because you can get these really inexpensively. Home Depot, Lowe's, but I'm going to show you a trick with this. This is my first big tip. Most tiles have these little nubs on them. Now when you go and look at them, you'll see like a chunk sticking out in a couple places. These are like spacing nubs, so when they're used as tiles, there's the right amount of space between them. But when you paint on them, they kind of they stick out and they can look ugly. If you go over to somewhere like Floor and Decor, and those are, I don't know, in all the states, I think, they have tiles without the nubs, and these are about, I want to say 10 cents each. So these are a great thing to learn to pour on. I think that's also where I got these bigger ones without nubs too. You want to look for them without the nubs if you think you're gonna, be doing this for a while. But look around because you can find them really inexpensively. So these make great wall hangings or for plants to sit on, the bigger ones, and these make great coasters or wall hangings. Okay, so that's what I would get if I was getting tiles. Floor and Decor. You'll find the best you can find anywhere, I think. Second of all, a lot of people want to get a spinner. Now I've got a spinner here, and this is from Erica Hughes. I got this for Christmas from my husband, and I had been painting a while, so he got me this. But what I started with was this one, and it's all painted up, you can see. And I'll put a link to it on my channel. I think this was $13, and I got it off Amazon. And I love this spinner. It's nice and low, so the paint doesn't hit you in the belly when it flies off. But I would say if you're going to do a spinner, maybe something like this, okay? Now, also, paint suggestions. Let me start with paint suggestions. Okay, so I went out and I bought a whole bunch of deco art paints because when I walked into Michael's, there they were right there. So deco art, there were folk art. I bought a lot of those paints, but I found that they didn't make cells. They didn't do those things that I saw people doing. So I suggest maybe don't buy those. Maybe do something like this. Now this was also at Michael's. This is Arteza, and the paints, it has paints that go together for making a tile or something. And the paints are pre-made and ready to pour. So you don't have to add anything to them. You can just make your item with these. And they're fantastic. I'll link to a video I did where I poured on some of those. I'll put that up here so you can see it. But this, I think, was $15, and what a great way to start. So this is Arteza. It was Michael's or Hobby Lobby, something like that I got these at, or online. Fantastic. I really recommend trying these to start with. Okay, there's that. Now, another thing that I found really has helped, and you don't have to get this right away, but I would suggest for someday, these silicone mats. Now, I bought all kinds of silicone mats, and I finally went to this company, fluidart.co, that's right here, and got these lowly Feffy mats, I don't know, or pour mats, I guess, by Fluid Art. They work amazing. This really keeps your tile from flying off when you're spinning it. I love these. They're handy. They have markings on them. If you can afford it, these mats from fluidart.co are great. Okay, now let's go down to how I do it, okay? So I like to, I've gone round and round on the best way to do this because fluid art makes a big mess. So on my table, what I've done, and I'm going to take this off so you can see it. It's really, really simple. I saw someone else doing this, so that's what made me want to do it. It is just a cradle board that I got from, I don't know, I'll link it down below too. It's a 24-inch cradle board, right? And I had this big Lazy Susan, that it's sitting on, this big glass Lazy Susan, but you can get these at Wayfair for about $80. Now, you don't need these right away, but if you're looking for tips, maybe you've been doing this for a while and you're looking for some tips, this is fantastic. So what I usually do is either put my cradle board on my table, or I like to put it on this round spinner, and I cover it with paper that I get from the dollar store for $1.25. Let me show you that. So I get this from the dollar store. It's $1.25, and I can do 4 different paint pouring sessions with it. All right, so let's talk through the paints. Now, when you buy a paint, let's say Amsterdam, Winsor Newton, if you're in Michael's and you skip over the aisle that has the deco art and the folk art, look around, you're gonna find another aisle that has Amsterdam paints, Winsor Newton paints, and Amsterdam Standard Series is a great place to start. I think these paints are usually maybe, around me, it's $2,025, $6 or $7. And sometimes they're on sale too. So you can buy some different colors to start with. Now, if you want to make something like these coasters, and here are some round ones, put it here so you can get a better look at it. If you want to make something like this, you can't just squirt paint on it and make it happen. You've got to put the paint with something to make it flowy so that it can go on your item. So all of the paints, like this kind of paint, if you buy pigments like this, which are just the pigment that you add, or let's say you buy, do I have one here? Or maybe you're gonna buy a liquid paint. You don't just squirt these on. These kind, you have to add to something. And that's what makes it flow and pour and have the reactions that you're looking for. So you got to mix this with something. Now, you can buy mediums. They'll say pouring mediums on them. This one's an iridescent one. You can find pouring mediums that you buy. I'm looking for one to see if I have another one here. So you can buy pouring mediums, like Liquitex has their own, different companies have pouring mediums, and you can mix these paints into those, and that'll be what you're pouring and putting on your tile. Now, there's lots of recipes out there. I will put my recipe up maybe in the next video, but you can look at like Venom Fluid Art has them, Lisa Marvin Art has, she quite often shows her recipe. There are lots of different Canella, Sirocco, she does too. They have their recipes up. But let me tell you, this is the hardest part right here, the pouring medium. Getting it right for your paint, okay? So that's number one. But you're gonna mix 2 things together at least to make your paint flowy so that it can go over your item. Okay, so if you want to get the cells, you see the swiping and the blowing and the hair dryers that make the cells, you're gonna want something like this. This is Australian Floetrol. And you can get this at fluidart.co. I may have gotten it on Amazon now too, but you want to make sure you're getting the one called Australian Floetrol. The other Floetrol, which you can get at Lowe's, and I can get this on Amazon too, this is different than this. You want this to make the cells. This could be used in pouring mediums, so it's really handy to have, and it's in a lot of recipes. This is also Floetrol. I hope that helps because I did not know that. But this is how you get the cells, one of the ways. People have all kinds of recipes. Okay, and another thing really popular in my world is press and seal. You can use this on the back of all kinds of things. Like here I've put it on the back of a record and then I've taped around it. I think that the frog tape works the best, but I try all different kinds, but taping around them so that when you pour on top of it, the back stays clean, and so your final project is really beautiful. So I use press and seal so that I don't have to use so much expensive tape because the press and seal costs less. So press and seal can be your friend, let me say that. All right, so let's start with this. I've mixed up my paint already, and like I said, I'll do a video on that. Another thing while I'm at it, these spoons from the dollar store, 48 spoons for $1 or whatever, Wow, they are so much nicer than the sticks or the little tiny things. I just am really into these spoons right now. So I highly recommend that. If you want to keep your costs down, great way to do it. Okay, so we're going to start out by making just maybe one tile today. Maybe we'll make... All right, so we're going to make a tile. Let me get my apron on. All right, also, sometimes you hear people talking about Joe. They're like, you're going to use Joe with that. And if you're like me, you're like, who's Joe and what is that? That is Joe Sonia Varnish. And again, you can find this on Amazon. A lot of the fluid art people sell it. It's wonderful. But this is what they're talking about. It's a varnish that you can add to your paint and it helps it stay up on top. Another really handy thing to have around is a butane torch. I really recommend this. This is how we're going to pop bubbles today, and I'll show you as we get going. But this is just an inexpensive torch that I got on Amazon. I think it's like a kitchen culinary torch. So, and then skewers. This is just a skewer. It's a meat skewer that I got at the grocery store. This is wonderful when you want to do some embellishing on your item. But okay, let's get, so the next thing we want to talk about is what we're going to put on first. Now I've mixed up paints that we're going to put on that are going to make our colors, but what we want first is called a pillow. And you hear people talking about this. The pillow will go on first, and what that does is it's going to be a little thicker than the paint you're going to put on top, so it's going to hold up the paint. Because if the paint melts in and drops in, then you don't have as beautiful as a project. So pillow paint can be like Sherwin-Williams Color to Go. That's one that I like to use. We're going to use Agapanthus today. But you might want to use something like one of these. So this one is Glidden Premium. And I'll try to link to it or put up on the screen what this exactly is. Or you could use PPG Multi-Pro. This is really, really popular because it can hold up the weight of the paint. We might use some of that today to kind of show you how it works. But this PPG Multi-Pro. Both of those, really all three of those make really good pillows. Okay, so we're going to use Agapanthus today. So let me stir this up a minute. Now, when you're stirring up your pillow paint, you can see it here. It's got bubbles in it already. But what I don't want to do is stir it so it's got lots more bubbles. Now, I've noticed, like with the Sherwin-Williams, sometimes the goo can drop in from the paint, like the edges. You'll get a big chunk of something. So you really want to just watch your item and make sure that's not happening. If it is, you're going to want to take it out. I'm going to show you that in a minute here. Okay, so this is stirred up. This is Agapanthus, which is a beautiful purple. So this is what we're going to use today. We're going to put this on first. And you can see that it goes on and it just kind of sits there. That's actually what I want. I don't want it to keep spreading and fall off right away. If that happens, that means my pillow's too thin, so I don't want that. Next up, we're going to use the colors I picked and I've made to put on top of it. So this one I think is Medium Magenta and by Liquitext. And this is one that I got from, from Venom Fluid Art. So I'm going to put a little bit of this on, and I'm using their recipe today. So if you go to Venom Fluid Art, you'll see it. This one I think is Permanent Red Violet. This is Amsterdam. A little bit thicker here. Which is what I want. Next up is Opera Rose by Amsterdam. Actually, I think this is Quinoa Rose because my Opera Rose was all gone. Okay, so there we go. Next up, I'm going to be doing, this is a pigment that I've made put into the pouring medium. This is Fairy Floss. It's beautiful. So we're going to put a little bit of this on. Now this little bit of this goes a long way, so I'm not going to overdo it. Next up is Glisten, and this is also by this little piggy. And what it means, this little piggy are pigments that you can mix up. I see bubbles in there, so I'm going to show you what we're going to do about those in a minute. And the last one, let's see, this is Pearl Violet. by Amsterdam. Now it doesn't look pearl or violet if you look at it. Does not, does it? Put it up here so you can see. That's because this is a pearl paint, so the color will come when it hits the reflective surfaces. I can see it a little bit left on my spoon. I just need a little of this. Okay. All right, so we're this far along, and the next step is going to be the cell activator. Now, when you see people getting those, the cells, you can get cells just from your paint. It will happen when certain paints touch other certain paints based on the weight and the density of the paint. But you can also make your own little product called cell activator, which this is mixed up white paint with some of that Australian Floetrol. And we're going to put that on top, and then we're going to blow it so that the colors go over each other. So I'm going to kind of show you here. So this is the cell activator, and as soon as I put it on, I've got to get blowing on it. I can't just let it sit there. It's got to happen right away. Okay, so there we go. Cell activator's on. Now I can bend down and blow with my mouth, and a lot of people do that. I don't, just because I'm 65 years old and I do have some breathing things. So I like to use this thing called this little blower, the little blower, and use that. So I'm going to try to make this white cell activator shoot out over the top of my paints. So I'm going to start like this. And just do it like that. And I might kind of just help it along a little bit. And what I like to do now, there's a spot here where the cell activator has puddled and no cells are forming. So I like to use my blower to help reduce that a little bit and try to get some cells. So I kind of bump it like that. Is that a way to say it? I bump it. Okay. This thing is so coated in paint, it's hard to find the on-off switch. Okay, so you can see right now, I have some cells. I'm gonna move it around a little bit and see. Now, because I pushed all the paint down, it's kind of all stuck down in the middle. So I wanna kind of start freeing that up by moving it a little bit. I can see a big dent in the middle because I pushed down, but that's okay. All right, so they're starting to come up now. What a lot of people do when they see that they've got a middle without cells, let's see if I can find my... They'll use something like this. Now it's covered in paint, but it's just a big tube straw, and you can get them with these little ends on them. The little plastic ends, I don't know, they come in a whole thing. And I don't know which end you blow on. Let's blow on this end. And we're going to see if we can get more cells. That a lot of times will bring up more cells. So what you're seeing people do, the reason they're doing that if you're watching these videos is to push that cell activator down in easier. Okay, so not too many cells in the middle, but they're coming. We have a few cells here. It's very, very beautiful. You could just spin it like it is. And in fact, let's just do that, all right? So we're just gonna spin it. And I tend to wanna overspin it like, more must be better. But if you don't, and you just kind of give it some gentle spins, the paint from the middle is gonna start to move off the sides, which is what you want. You don't want it to be too thick on here or it'll crack as it dries. All right, so we've got one starting here. That pillow paint was nice and thick, so you can see that it's kind of stopped moving. So what you can do about that, if your corners and things aren't moving, you can literally just take your finger and take some of the paint and help it along. The best thing is if you can get the paint to come over the edges, because that will make it so beautiful. So sometimes I'll do it like this, where I'll go ahead and get the edges wet. And do this with them. Take some of this paint. All right, now watch when I spin it how much easier it is. It's going to go over those edges. Now, you might say, oh, I love it like this. I like that edge like that. I would like to see the paint go over that more, so I'm just going to move it a little bit, kind of off center. So hopefully that'll direct the paint over to it. You can always pick it up if you need to and kind of help it like this little corner. It's your project. You can do what you want. Oh, it's so pretty, right? And you really want to get it over the sides and looking beautiful. See that? So that's what the spinning helps do. So you can stretch it out like this. You can spin it out. Beautiful like that, right? Okay, so that's one way to do it. All right, so beautiful. That's very, very pretty. It's almost over the sides on all sides. So let me see if I can sort of help it. In the beginning, I was so afraid to touch it, but now I'm not. Just touch it and help it if you need to get some paint across it. So that when it dries, you can resin it and it makes a beautiful gift or a sale item. Okay, so that's really pretty. I like that. That's really nice. So let me take it and we're gonna do another one, okay? So I'm gonna take it off. Look at that. Let me put it up to the lights or the camera so you can see it. Pretty, right? Okay. So here's the pillow paint for the next one, okay? So this time let's do it a little differently. Right, we're gonna do the same paints. And this can just kind of help you see that when you're doing these, you have all kinds of abilities you can do, even just using the same paints. All right, so we're going to use same paints. All right, so same order. Everything's the same, I think. Same order. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do next, we're just going to use a playing card because you probably got one of these at home, right? So we're going to put our cell activator on. Okay. And this time, let's just dip our card in it. Okay. Okay, so I got my cell activator on. And this time, all I'm going to do is maybe swipe across it, okay? Maybe I'll kind of do like this. Okay, and see the cells that are coming up? Beautiful. So it's starting to make those cells now. So I like to let it sit for a minute so the cells can come up. Now, you could just spin this out. You could move it a little bit like this so it kind of stretches and tilts down the end. I actually like this doing better than blowing because blowing, to me, kind of changes the cells, but look at that. Now you could tilt it and get them to go this way. I mean, gee, anybody would love getting a beautiful tile like this. This agapanthus is so great. Okay. We want it to come off that side and this side. So let's get our colors right. Now I can see there's this whole big thing here that showed up. What I might do is just take the other half of the playing card, dip it, and maybe I'm going to do that part too. Maybe I'm going to just go along it. Beautiful. Now, it left that big lump right there. So now, as the colors are coming up, maybe you're like, Maybe I want to tilt it. Maybe I want to spin it. I think tilting it would grow those cells. That would be really pretty. Get this moving here. Just beautiful. You can tilt off the part you don't like. I don't love that white so much, so I might tilt it off. Tilt it back. Wow, that's very pretty, right? Gosh, that's gorgeous. Now, in my case, what I probably would do, before I've spun it, I might, try to embellish it a little bit. Maybe I'm going to do something like this. Just maybe that's pretty. And this looks kind of goofy, so let's try to do the same thing here. Right? Maybe we're going to bring it out here. Oh, it's pretty like that. And now spin it. Oops. Went a little crazy there. Went a little crazy there with harder spin than I wanted. All right, that's a beautiful tile, right? I mean, that's number 2 of the series. Let's pick it up. Look at how beautiful that looks. Look at the cells we have and the colors. Let me put it up here so you can see it. Look at that, beautiful, gorgeous, beautiful cell. That's a great way to make a tile. So you can make them, see how easy that was? All right, and the last thing we're gonna make, we're gonna actually use this Arteza paint because I wanna show you what this does on a tile. Now this is super easy to do. You could do it in different, you can look up ring pour, split cup pour, flip cup pour, all kinds of different things, but I'm gonna show you a pour where you're just taking these colors that Arteza has put together because they know they work together. And then I'm just taking the bottle, squeezing some in. Okay. There we go. All right. Now, it's probably enough for a tile. Let me put my tile on. Now, I could just pour this all over my tile. I don't even have to put pillow paint down. And maybe put in just a tad more. Let's do a little more blue on top. Okay. Or I could just flip the whole cup at once. Let's do just a pour where let's just flip it, okay? So we're gonna do it like this. We're gonna flip it. All right, so you can spin it. You could take your stick and go through it. I just like to kind of tilt it, I think, and see what it's gonna do. It's got bubbles in it. Beautiful. I'd love some cells, but that's not totally necessary for me, okay? I'm just loving it the way it is. It's kind of got like a little galaxy look to it. Beautiful. Let's bring it up to the middle where the paint wants to go, where most of the paint is, and then back off this side, and then a little paint this way. Beautiful. Well, you can see it well, coming over the side. And then I think I'd like to bring it back to the middle. Oh, I like it just like that. That's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I do see a few cells trying to form. Just beautiful. I mean, that is so simple and easy to do when you're getting started. Beautiful. Now, remember I talked about that torch, and I'll torch the other ones we just did. But what's wonderful about this is we can see bubbles all over on it. So we're going to torch it. We don't want to get too close. The goal is just to pop the bubbles and get out of there. Beautiful. Now, you could spin it too. Give a little spin if you want the paint to move out a little more. Beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful. Isn't that great? Can you see how easy it is to get started without spending a lot of money? I mean, you don't even need to use Cell Activator with that. Look at that. I hope that answers some of the questions that you have. If you have other questions, put them down in the comments and I'll try to answer them. I appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you learned something today. I'll see you later. Bye.